I can feel a real shift in the air when I look at these four stories. And no, this is not some cheap May optimism. This is that feeling that the Patriots are starting to make serious people uncomfortable again. Today we've got Christian Gonzalez being pushed into the Defensive Player of the Year conversation, a possible explosive weapon for Drake Maye gaining even more steam, a delicate left tackle battle that could shape the future of the offensive line, and an old connection coming back right at the heart of the offense. Hit that like button, because Foxborough is not just building a roster, it is bringing back respect, edge, identity, and fear in the eyes of opponents. The first story starts on defense, and I'm going to say this straight from the chest. If Christian Gonzalez is still not being treated by everyone as one of the faces of this new era in New England, then some people are watching these games with an emotional delay. Because the Patriots spent the offseason attacking clear weaknesses. Offensive line, edge, tight end, premium draft picks, obvious priorities to protect Drake Maye and strengthen this roster. But at cornerback, that spot did not need surgery. That spot needed recognition. Gonzalez on one side, Carlton Davis third on the other, and suddenly you look at this secondary and understand why opposing quarterbacks are about to have much less comfortable nights. And the detail that gets me fired up is simple. Gonzalez is not just good. He is the kind of player who changes the franchise's financial conversation. The Patriots already picked up his fifth-year option, but that feels more like a bridge than the final destination. When a corner comes in as a first-round pick, grows inside your building, becomes an elite piece, and starts earning that level of respect, you do not start counting pennies. You put the money on the table, protect your asset, and send a message to the locker room. When you become a star here, you stay here. And now his name is starting to pop up in Defensive Player of the Year talk. Matt LaGrosse from Patriots Wire put Gonzalez in that race if he can cut his catch rate allowed under 50%, hold yards after the catch allowed under 100, and get close to 5 interceptions. That is a big projection, absolutely, but it is not some wild fan fantasy. The league has seen corners win that award when they start scaring quarterbacks before the ball even leaves the hand. Stephon Gilmore did it in New England. Patrick Surtain became a modern example of that same mold. Gonzalez has the tools, the age, the talent, and now a stronger defensive environment to try to kick that door open. And that is where Kevin Byard III becomes the hidden piece of this whole thing. Byard is coming off a 2025 season in Chicago with 7 interceptions, 7 takeaways. That is not just a pretty stat, that changes behavior. A safety with that kind of instinct behind your corners gives freedom, confidence, and danger. Gonzalez does not have to chase desperate plays. He can stay technical, stay patient, turn aggressive at the right time, and know there is a smart veteran reading the field behind him. For Mike Vrabel, this kind of defense fits exactly what he wants. Tough, communicative, uncomfortable, physically secure, and mentally exhausting for the opponent. And for Gonzalez, this season could be the jump from great player to national award contender. I know Defensive Player of the Year is hard for a cornerback. It always has been. But if he stacks games erasing WR1s, if quarterbacks start avoiding his side, and if the interceptions show up, New England will not just be preparing to pay a future contract. It will be watching the defender who brings real fear back to the Patriots' defense. Now flip to the other side of the ball, because the second story hits that anxiety every Patriots fan knows. When the offense is missing one big piece, you feel it before the ball is even thrown. And the name still hanging over Foxborough is A.J. Brown. This story has moved past random off-season noise. It has a calendar now. It has league buzz. It has people talking. It has fans staring at June 1 like a door is slowly starting to unlock. The emotional read in New England is easy to understand. This team reached the Super Bowl. Drake Maye showed he can carry way more than just promise. The offense had strong moments in 2025, but it still needs that receiver who changes the face of the play call. The guy who makes the safety think for half a second longer. The guy who turns third down into a physical fight. The guy who catches a ball over the middle and makes the whole defense look small. And Brown, even if he is not that 23 or 24-year-old monster who overwhelmed people every snap, still carries that kind of threat. Mike Giardi hit that exact point on the All 32 podcast. He acknowledged that Brown may not be the same young version from those full explosion years, but he also offered something that should calm a lot of people down. There is still a lot of power in his game, and New England could be a better fit than many people want to admit. The part that really gets me is the connection with Drake Maye. Giardi talked about a quarterback willing to attack tight windows and throw over the middle of the field. That fits A.J. Brown in a very specific way because Brown lives on strength, timing, body control, courage, and contested catches. And look, I understand why some fans worry about draft capital, age, knees, salary, all of it. Patriots fans who have watched this team miss while trying to patch the offense have every right to keep one foot on the brake. But there is a huge difference between betting on a tired name and going after a WR1 who would instantly be the best receiver on this roster. New England has gone way too long without that kind of presence. Way too long trying to manufacture a number one threat with combinations, hope, and group effort. At some point, if the chance is there, you have to ask it. Does Drake Maye deserve a weapon like this or not? And there is a human side to this story that makes it even heavier. Brown grew up a Patriots fan. He was devastated when Bill Belichick did not draft him in 2019. And now he is being linked to a team led by Mike Vrabel, the coach he thrived with early in his career in Tennessee. It feels like a script written late, but not too late. Even better, it feels like a chance to fix an old feeling. Now with a different quarterback, a different moment, and a different urgency. If that move becomes real after June, the Patriots would not just be adding a famous name. They would be giving Maye a grown, physical, dangerous reference point, a trust target when the play breaks down, a receiver who lets the offense play with more chest. And for a team that just tasted the bitterness of losing the final game of the season, that kind of aggression is not vanity. It is a response. And then comes the third story, maybe not the loudest one, but it could become one of the most important of the season. Is Will Campbell really safe as the left tackle of the future? Or was Caleb Lomu drafted specifically to keep that question alive inside the building? Because when ESPN has Ben Solak saying Lomu could take Campbell's spot during 2026, that touches a wound the Patriots cannot pretend is not there. Protecting Drake Maye is no longer a project, it is a franchise obligation. Campbell arrived in 2025 with major investment, picked to be that blindside tackle, and his year needs to be judged fairly. He played 12 regular season games, missed 5 with an MCL injury, came back in the playoffs, and still started all 4 postseason games, including the Super Bowl. That is not nothing. A rookie playing hurt, facing January football, seeing elite pass rushers, under massive pressure, cannot be evaluated like he was playing Madden in a lab. There is context, there is pain, there is raw learning. But you also cannot ignore what happened. Solak brought up the numbers that explain why this conversation exists. Before the injury, Campbell allowed pressure on 11.1% of snaps by NFL Next Gen Stats model, close to the league average for left tackles, which was 10.1%. For a rookie on an island, that is not a disaster. After the injury, that number jumped to 18.4%. That is when the light comes on. Not because Campbell suddenly became a lost cause, but because the NFL attacks weakness without mercy. If an edge sees arm length issues, trouble against long-armed bull rushers, or late recovery against speed around the corner, he is going right back there until he draws blood. And that is where Lomu changes the temperature. The Patriots did not trade up, send pick 31 and a 4th rounder to Buffalo just to collect a pretty tackle on the bench. Lomu came from Utah with a protection profile, experience on the left side, and strong production. So Solak calls him the escape hatch, that emergency option waiting in the corner. And I get the image. Every time Campbell has a rough game, somebody will ask for Lomu. That will be unfair at times, but it is also the consequence of drafting first-round tackles in back-to-back years. But to me, the healthy way to read this is not to turn it into a war. Campbell versus Lomu can become the headline, but inside Foxborough, it needs to become a higher standard. Campbell is 22. He comes back healthier. He already knows how rushers tried to attack his arms and his base, and he can improve his technique, angles, hands, and patience. Lomu at the same time pressures the whole room. Nobody relaxes. Nobody gets a lifetime job. Nobody protects Maye on reputation. And I want to hear from the fan base in the comments. Would you keep Campbell on the left side and let Lomu grow on the right, or would you make it an open competition from day one? Because that answer says a lot about how you see Vrabel's Patriots. I do not see panic. I see standards. If Maye is the future, then the future needs tackles who can survive December, January, and the final minute of a Super Bowl. The fourth story carries a different kind of weight. It is not a huge rumor. It is not an individual award. It is not a first-round battle. It is one of those stories that feels small until you remember every offensive snap starts right there. Jared Wilson is going to be the Patriots center in 2026, snapping the ball to Drake Maye, and that detail affects the entire operation. Because center is not just the guy who puts the ball in play. It is voice, rhythm, adjustment, protection, identification, and calm when the defense starts showing disguised pressure. And the beautiful part of this story is that Wilson and Maye almost started together long before New England. Both were connected to North Carolina during high school recruiting. Maye stayed with the Tar Heels. Wilson changed paths, went to Georgia, grew in the SEC, became a third-round pick in 2025, and came to the Patriots as a guard. Now, years later, the road takes a strange turn and puts them in the same place. Maye as the franchise quarterback, Wilson as the man snapping him the ball. When Wilson says it is a full circle moment, you understand it. Football lives on those connections nobody really plans, but somehow they make sense when the roster starts to grow up. The move itself is big. Wilson started at left guard last season, but with Garrett Bradbury traded to the Chicago Bears, he goes back to his natural position. And he is not treating it like something scary. Quite the opposite. He said he played center in college, he feels comfortable snapping the ball, but he also knows there are always details to adjust. That is the answer you want from a young player stepping into a bigger role. Confidence without arrogance. And there is one point I really like here. Wilson said having a year together helps with the vocal side because he already knows the guys in the room. That is crucial. Offensive line play does not work on empty yelling. It works on timing, knowing how the guy next to you reacts, the look before the call, the quick correction after pressure, the repetition until it becomes instinct. He also admitted Josh McDaniels' playbook was tough in year one, that it took him a full season to figure it out. But getting thrown into the fire also speeds up growth. For Drake Maye, this could be much bigger than it looks. A young, smart center who knows the system and is ready to lead communication can stabilize the offense from the inside out. And after talking so much about tackles, receivers, and outside protection, maybe the middle of that line is exactly where New England finds a quiet piece of its evolution. In the end, everything comes back to the same feeling. New England is done asking for patience and is starting to demand respect. Gonzalez could become a national award name. A.J. Brown, if that path really opens, could give Drake Maye the target that changes the offense. Campbell and Lomu show that protecting the quarterback has become serious competition, not pretty talk. And Jared Wilson at center brings trust, communication, and history into every snap. That is how a team grows after real pain, fixing details, facing discomfort, and attacking needs. If you want to follow this rebuild with me every day, subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell.